Okay, here we are. All right, hello.
Hello.
All right, so my first question for you is if you would not mind defining privilege. What does privilege mean to you?
Sure. Privilege, in my view, is advantages that you have based on identities that you hold that are outside of your control. So any kind of step up you get in the world that you didn't particularly earn, but that you have because of either the skin color you were born with, the class that you were raised in, the education that you have, etc.
Okay, thank you. All right, our second question is going to be how exactly have you seen your privileges play a role in your life?
Well, I come from a middle class family. I am white. I am educated. And for me, that has meant that when I go into a space or when I interact with authority figures, I don't have to worry about being trusted. So I've been pulled over for headlights before on my car, and I don't worry about when that happens, right? I assume that it's not something that I did wrong, and I assume that as long as I didn't do anything wrong, everything will go fine. Also, because of the class that my parents were a part of, I was able to prepare for my college applications and my grad school applications. And I had access to things like extracurricular activities. I didn't have a problem getting letters of recommendation because I had interacted with enough people in higher levels of education and higher levels of society that would provide those for me. So even though I worked really hard to get into the schools that I got into, I also didn't have to worry about parts of the application process.
Okay. And my last question for you, how have you seen either previous privileges you've described or privileges throughout your life period impact those who are surrounding you?
Um, a lot of this is I'm in an interracial marriage. So I have very different privileges than my husband does as an Asian American. And one of the things that I have noticed is people will, if we go into a retail location, they will tend to talk to me. Either because assuming that I'm the one that speaks English or different racial categories or things like that. In addition to that, I come from a predominantly blue collar family who don't have the level of education that I do, and it's oftentimes very hard for me to relate to members of my family because of my education level. But I also know that when I get into certain contexts, my career and my education is taken more seriously than that of my aunts and uncles who work in labor fields. So I don't know necessarily that my identity personally is affecting other people, but the way other people interact with me when I'm around other people is different. And I imagine, and I've had the conversation with my husband, makes other people aware of how their power dynamics are different.
Okay, are there any last things you would like to say before revealing yourself?
Yeah. Privilege is not your fault, but it's your responsibility. You have it by virtue of your birth or by virtue of how you were raised, where you were raised, etc. And so it's not something you're responsible for having, but it is something that it is your obligation, especially if you're an educated individual in college, to take account for and to understand how it impacts your life and how it can impact those around you.
Okay, are you ready to reveal yourself?
Yes.
Okay, please do so now.
Hello, my name
Hi.
is Danielle Clapham. I am a PhD candidate in English at Marquette University, and I teach first year English to freshmen.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.